I'm Ryan Milton from Team Flex, and today we're going to be breaking down the IFBB Iron Games Pro Bikini. Just happened this past weekend. We're going to look at our top 5 competitors. We're going to go over the placings, why they may have landed the way they did, the criteria the judges are looking for, and what this all means for you as out there, a bikini competitor, somebody who's considering competing. Maybe you've never done it, maybe you want to go for it, maybe you're trying to get a pro card, maybe you're already a pro. Either way, this video and what we do on this channel is give you the tools, the tips, the things you need to know to do better on stage, and that's what I'm all about. So if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop me a comment, any competitions you want me to cover or anything else, I'm happy to do it, all right? Let's get down to business. So this is our top 3 that we are looking at here first. So we have Lacy, she's our competition winner. She's taking first place here. We have Wu taking second place over here, and then we have Tara taking third, okay? So this is our top 3 at the IFBB Bikini Pro level. So what you'll see here is very high quality physiques from the 3 of these athletes, very on par with the criteria, and that criteria being the hourglass shape that we always talk about for bikini division, and this has been further echoed again with Olympia. There is no changes to criteria, folks. I've seen a lot of people talking about, oh, the criteria is different, things are shifting, things are changing. Nope, criteria is the same, nothing's different. The judges, if anything, are getting more on point with their picks for these placings, but really what continues to happen is athletes just continue to get better and more on point. So you're looking at the top level, we're looking at IFBB Bikini. However, the criteria remains the same all the way into the NPC level. It could be your first competition. You're still going to be focused on bringing your best hourglass shape and your best condition, everything that comes with that. So if we look here at Lacy, she's got a really good ratio going. She's got good shoulder shape. This is what really creates that first upper part of the hourglass, if we want to call it that, right? This top, if you will, where this width of the shoulders, this muscle development really does accentuate that width, and that's something you want to focus on as a bikini competitor, making sure that you bring that fullness and the roundness to your shoulders, but not to the degree where it gets too big, starts to look like figure or other divisions, but also you don't want to be too small there because you're not going to really bring that hourglass look, right? And so Lacy really has that, a lot of good muscle shape, and her arms stay in really nice balance there, bicep and tricep, forearm, even though this is not scored, you can just see that the shoulders are what are really pronouncing themselves in this upper body shot, in this front pose, if you will. So this is a really good look for her there. Also, she does have a very wide lat look, so you see this on some competitors and some you won't. You kind of got to know your own physique and where you want to be and what's going to accentuate you the best. But the athletes that can get this lat sweep, it is an advantage for sure, because what it does is it kind of draws the eye from the shoulder into the lat, into the waist, which is the narrow, small waist. That's what judges are going to be looking for. So that kind of sweeping lat can almost accentuate that dramatic V-tapered look, and that becomes something judges really, when they see it, they go, whoa, that's crazy. That's a lot of, shape, a lot of muscle. That's a lot of bikini going on here, and that's what you want to have. So really good lat shape for her. Some athletes have this, some don't, like I said, but that really does help her sweep into a very narrow waist, and it almost makes the waist appear smaller maybe than it is. She's got a very good waist shape in general here, but it could be, again, appearing smaller just from the muscles she has up top. So that's really key. That's something you want to focus on. When we look into the lower body now, what we should be looking for is perfect symmetry. So we want to see that symmetry be up, down, left, right, total symmetry to the upper body, and that, again, is where we get to the base now of the hourglass shape. So if we look, she's got good glute shape here. There's muscle there. That's what you want to see. You want to see that upper glute being full, not flat, and that's what we're seeing there. And then mainly what we see greatly is the lower body matching. So your hamstrings got a little bit of that shape, quads got a little bit of that shape. Everything complements together. It all works in a nice harmony. It all works in symmetry, and that is bikini division. It's all about that. So if you don't have that, that's an area you really want to focus on, right? You want to make sure you got the balance between those muscle groups and everything. And if we look at that, she really does nail that symmetry, and it matches her shoulders, her upper body very well. Again, I said again twice, but that's how she wins this show, right? Like that's definitely how you get there. So really good look for her in this front pose. And let's talk just a little bit about conditioning before we move on to the other competitors. So you want to be at a conditioning bikini that is softer, but it's not too soft. And you also don't want to be too hard. You don't want to get too shredded lean like some athletes are always over focused on. If you get, too soft, it's not going to score you well. You won't show the right lines. We can see, here, Lacy, she's got good lines in the quads, good glute separation here, abdominal lines, shoulder separation, everything that you would want to see. I mean, and this is basically right on par with the criteria there conditioning-wise, where we can see some muscle coming through, some soft lines, but it's not super grainy, super cut, super striated like we would see in divisions above this, like figure, women's physique, women's bodybuilding, where it gets leaner and leaner and leaner, and you can see more and more muscles, more graininess of the muscle, more lines in the muscle. That's not favorable. Also, if you're too soft to show those muscles, you can have really great shape, but if you don't have the right condition, it's still not going to score you favorably on stage. And that's something to remember at all levels, right? You want to bring your best combined look of shape with condition, and that's how you're going to do really well on any level of stage that you're going to be on. Now, let's take a look over at Wu, right? She's taking second. A little bit of difference in the posing, right? So I think Lacy kind of has a little bit better of that posing look. Wu here looks a little bit more scrunched up, and, everybody poses different. That's all right, and some athletes choose different posing for whatever reason. For her, though, I think this kind of can have a effect where it can make her lower body appear a little bit too dominant, right? And it could also just be she does not have the same level of shoulder pronunciation here that Lacy does. Very good physique overall, still really does get the hourglass shape done. I mean, we're talking about second place at a pro show. It does not happen any other way. And then we see the lower body development here creates that hourglass. But to me, looking at the shot, she's a little bit lower body dominant looking, a lot of glute size, a lot of glute fullness, and then the lower body, even though it's a very nice symmetrical look, it does kind of overpower the look. So maybe a little bit more shoulder or toning down the lower body. But really in this lineup against Lacy here, I mean, the shoulders are what are taking the difference. So again, it's a message for all of you competitors out there. Do not be sleeping on training the shoulders in bikini, right? It's not one of these divisions where you can just get away with not having a lot of muscle. I hear people talk about that. I hear a lot of coaches that don't coach for the women's divisions talking about how, you don't really have to train as hard or lift as hard to be in these, and that's totally wrong. Not the case. You definitely have to train very, very hard to attain a physique that is going to fit the bikini criteria. So really important to note that. Yeah, but for Wu, I mean, we're seeing, just needs a little bit more shoulder, really good physique overall. I would change some things about her pose and get a little bit more upright, show a little bit more of the waist. And, again, this lighting on stage, you can see where it kind of covers up part of her glute even in a sense, and it almost, I don't know, I would just mess with this posing to change some things that it would probably change the look just a bit, but she's very on par with condition. It's right where it should be, soft lines in the glutes, in the quads, and in the abdominals, a little bit in the shoulder. Everything looks great. Very good physique. And again, we're talking about number 2 in the IFBB Pro Show. So again, very great representation of criteria for all of you watching. Let's look over at Tara, right? So we look at Tara all the time. Tara, I'm not sure how exactly to pronounce it, but we're going to go with that. And, she's done some former events. We've reviewed her a lot on this channel. Very consistent look, very good hourglass shape. She's got this, shoulder development here. One of the areas that I think she's not really accentuating enough is a little bit more muscularity, right? So she could use just a little bit more balance, probably bring in the waist a little bit. Again, maybe some posing tweaks. She's got the most kind of squared off posing to the judges in this lineup. So that's another thing to think about, right? When you're up against Lacy, who's got this crazy V-taper sweep with a very narrow waist. I mean, it may not be as favorable to you to kind of square off your posing a little bit more. You appear a little bit wider. So that's one of those things, but she really does nail her conditioning good. She does nail that overall. It's a very close front shot from these three ladies. Just a little bit changes in posing. Overall, everything looks good there, but we always say that the back does tell the full story. So let's pop over there. And here what we can see looking at the back pose is some clear, obvious differences in the athletes now. In bikini, kind of one from the back. We always talk about that. That's where we're at. And we can see Lacy has, this really good hourglass shape from the back as well, which is what judges want to see. You're being really scored primarily in the front and the back in bikini, and you want to showcase all of the same things, the hourglass shape, the good muscle density, and also the overall conditioning that meets the criteria, and that's what we see here. So we can see her shoulder shape. This is good. A little bit here, but it's not overpowering, right? Nice waist taper, very good upper body base for this hourglass shape. And looking to the lower body, a lot of good muscle here. So a lot of upper glute shape. You can really see that showing through, especially where the suit is sitting. You can definitely see a lot of glute there. Tie-in is right where it should be. That muscle that pops out, gets you that 3D effect, but it's not overpowering. It's also not underdone. And just the conditioning that just meets that to show that slight separation between the glutes and the hamstrings. And that again is their glute hamstring development on point. A little bit of quads just from the back where we can see at the IFBB level that becomes, you know, something we see a lot. Generally, we see a lot more of that in wellness, obviously, because the quads are much bigger. But at a very, you know, well-developed IFBB Pro physique, will have just a little bit of that quad sweep from the back. And that's because, again, they have a lot of muscle. This is a lot of muscle on these top bikini athletes, okay? So really great look for her. Really ties it together. It's hard to say anything could be better from this. And that's, again, probably how she ends up getting to the win. Looking over here at Wu, what we see is, you know, a little bit of an imbalance, right? The shoulders that I talked about in the front were not really as big as they could have been. I think that's taking effect from the back. Her lower body appears very dominant. She does, however, have really good glute structure and shape. Upper glutes there. Overall glute is there. The tie-in shows perfectly. Really nice conditioning lower body. Just a little bit of the muscle from the quads in the back. It's a really good look. Just needs a little bit more balance in that upper body, I think. And she, you know, was right there anyway with second place. Could have been a little bit further up. Maybe she could have got first. Who knows? But the point is, a little bit more balance there. Balance is key for all you competitors out there. Remember that. And looking over here at Tara, we're looking at, you know, this point where, again, what we see is just an imbalance in muscularity in the glutes. Not as much glute development, not as much glute shape here. The upper glute appears a little bit flatter, and this is kind of what we saw in the front post too. She had that good size, very close in the front, but when you get to the back, it's just not... it's not the same, right? And you can see these two athletes placing above her have a lot more glute development, overall muscle in the glutes, and that is a big factor for her. So her upper glute appears to be a little bit, you know, less prominent. Overall glute development, less prominent. Not as much muscle there, so that's a factor for her. Now, we're going to look at bringing in our fourth and our fifth here compared to Lacy again, and this is where you get to see how things kind of trickle out a little bit more. I like to bring fourth and fifth into the mix because it really does show just a bit better what judges are looking for. And if you guys like what we're doing here on this channel, please make sure you subscribe. Drop me a comment. These things hype me up. I like it. I read it. I get back to work on it. I'm like, all right, let's get another review going. Let's get another review going. So let me know in the comments. But here we are. So we're bringing in Brittany over here, taking fourth, and we're bringing in Jessica over here, taking fifth. So, again, top 5 at IFBB Pro Show. Very good quality physiques. Very on point with criteria all the time. Let's talk about some differences, though. So, when we look at Brittany kind of compared to Lacy, right, we see some clear differences here. So, Brittany appears to be maybe a tad too over-conditioned in her lower body, right? Like we can see a lot more muscle structure going on here, a lot of different separations, a lot of difference just going on in the lower body, and it's not really echoed the same in her upper body, right? Like her conditioning appears a little bit uneven in that sense. So this is something you'll see that is not necessarily favorable for scoring, for judging, and that could definitely be a main factor here for Brittany. A little bit harder looking in the lower body, and it's probably because she has more muscle there, and you can see it looks a little bit dominant as well, right? Her lower body just appears dominant. We're getting a lot of quad shape, a lot of quad size here, a lot of like, hey, here's my quads in that front pose, and that's not super favorable due to the fact that, again, you know, it can make you look a little bit imbalanced. So she looks a little leaner in the lower body and a little bit more muscular. Her upper body looks good, good shape here, good balance between the biceps to the triceps to the shoulders. Her waist, however, I think, again, where I said her conditioning looks a little uneven, I think her waist could have been a little tighter here. It looks like her stomach is kind of coming forward. This could be some of posing. This can be a lot of things. It could be a different type of peak week approach. Could be a lot of things. Could just be the structure of her physique. But that is an area that, you know, may or may not be giving her a factor. However, I do think that her upper body appears a little bit softer overall. So that could be a variable. But really, the main thing probably here is going to be that the lower body appears too dominant in this muscle. She's got a lot of muscle. It almost looks like, you know, the lower we go, the leaner she gets. Like her, even though we're not really talking about calves, like that calf is popping out, and there's, you know, like you can see veins on that thing right here, but you know, we're just not getting the same from the upper body. So that's, again, a little bit of that uneven conditioning that can make a difference. And now let's look over here at Jessica. So Jessica, great physique, very nice overall, good taper, everything here. Good shoulder shape. I think she needs a little bit more shoulder development, though, to kind of match her lower body, because we do get a lot of pronounced glute and quad and hamstring shape. She overall is a smaller athlete, right? It appears in this lineup. So A little bit more muscle in the lower body is a lot of time what we see. A little bit more of that equaling out up top would be an advantage to her. I think her conditioning's pretty spot on. We get the right lines in the quads and the glutes and in the abs, and everything looks good here. I think just more muscle in this lineup to really create that shape would be an advantage for her. So maybe adding a little bit more shoulder, all of that is there, and that would be good. But again, like we said, we got to go to the back and we got to talk about it from here. So when we go to the back pose, I mean, first reaction is very clear differences, right, between Lacy, the winner, and then Brittany and Jessica. So again, we don't need to go over Lacy, but really just nails this look, brings it all through, the perfect kind of bikini criteria look there. When we look over at Brittany, we start to see a little bit of that kind of imbalance that I mentioned. She's very lower body heavy in this sense, right? A lot of muscle in the glutes, a lot of muscle in the quads and the hamstrings overall, this kind of sweeping effect, a lot of muscle going on here, and we're not really getting a lot of upper body from this position, right? We see just a tad of that development, not enough, and it makes her lower body look very dominant here. So that's the thing that I think is a huge factor for her. Kind of got to rebalance her physique just a bit, and that would be favorable for her. Looking over here now at Jessica. So Jessica, again, just does not have enough muscle. Very good frame, very good size, very good shape. Everything kind of matches. She needs just a tad bit more shoulder, I would say, to kind of balance out with her lower body. But overall, everything looks really good. And she just needs more muscle, more size, more development in general to kind of go up against the Lacy in this lineup, because it's just the way it is. So really good physique, really good quality. These are some things that, I think could have affected the placings. These are my opinions, my ideas, and my thoughts. And I want to hear yours, you guys. So comment them down below. Let me know what you think. What do you think of the lineup? Do you like this event? And what other ones do you want me to talk about? I'm going to be running these all ongoing forever. And I'm doing NPC shows too. Don't worry, we're not just doing IFBB, but I like to throw these in here because, main competitors' goals, a lot of them is to go get a pro card eventually. So it's good to look at that, get an idea what that is. But we're going to be doing a lot of NPC too. So if you are a competitor and you've done a show recently and you want me to review it, go ahead and comment it. I'll bring it up. I'll put it on the channel and I'll highlight you if you want me to, right? So let me know. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Coach Rye is out.